Take Mom's card. There's 130,000 on it. Treat yourself. That's what I heard my son say to his wife, standing in my own kitchen, 2 days before my birthday, as if I wasn't even in the room. He said it casually, like someone offering a stick of gum. And my daughter-in-law, with that soft, sugar-coated voice she only uses when she wants something, she laughed and whispered back. She doesn't even know what's on it anyway. I'll just transfer it later. I was slicing apples at the counter. My knife stopped midair. They thought I couldn't hear because the kettle was screaming on the stove. That loud, violent whistle. But the moment she said those words, I swear I didn't hear the kettle anymore. I heard my own pulse in my ears. A dull, heavy pounding, like someone knocking from inside my skull. $130,000. My money. My card. My son, the boy I raised with hands that trembled holding his fevered head. The boy who cried on my shoulder at 17 when his first love left him, telling his wife to treat herself with my life's savings. And she smiled. Not ashamed. Not surprised. Not afraid. Just comfortable, like this wasn't the first time. I didn't say a word. Not then. I put the knife down slowly, wiped my hands on the dish towel, and walked away, steady, quiet, like a woman who had just discovered a truth too large to swallow in one breath. That was the moment I knew something was deeply, dangerously wrong. People think betrayal feels like a knife. It doesn't, not at first. At first, it feels like routine. Before that day in the kitchen, our life looked ordinary, familiar, predictable in that soft, aging kind of way. I lived with my son and his wife for 2 reasons. One practical, one emotional. The practical. After my husband died, the house felt too big, too loud in its silence. The emotional. My son asked me to move in. His exact words still warm in my memory. "Mom, you took care of me my whole life. Let me take care of you now." I believed him. Oh God, I believed him. We converted the downstairs den into my little suite. My bed near the window that faced the lemon tree, my chair with the knitted throw. My quiet lamp I kept on in the evenings like a small, stubborn son. I cooked most nights, not because they asked, but because feeding people had been my love language all my life. The smell of browned onions, garlic hitting hot oil, that was my kind of prayer. My daughter-in-law, Myra, helped sometimes, though help mostly meant hovering with a glass of iced coffee in her hand, scrolling her phone, offering the occasional "smells good, Mom." She called me Mom more often than my own daughter ever had. I thought it meant closeness. Funny how words can sound like love while hiding something else behind them. My card, the one with the $130,000, was kept in a little zippered wallet inside the top drawer of my nightstand. I never touched it except to check the balance once every few months. That money was my security, the thin wall between aging with dignity and aging at someone's mercy. I rarely used it, but I trusted them with it in the house, because you don't lock doors inside your own bloodstream. Most mornings were gentle. I woke before the sun, boiled tea leaves slow, let the steam kiss my face, listened to the quiet breathing of a house still asleep. In those hours, I felt safe, like nothing in the world was plotting behind my back. I would pack my son's lunch, not because he needed a mother at 34, but because making his sandwich reminded me I still mattered. He would kiss my forehead before leaving and say, "You're our blessing, Mom." And I, like a fool, let those words tuck me in emotionally. Myra worked from home, glued to her laptop, with that soft clicking sound of her acrylic nails on the keyboard echoing through the hallway. Sometimes she would share gossip from her friends. Other times she would complain about prices rising, about how people like us needed to think long-term, plan money smartly, invest early. Her words make new sense to me now. Looking back, I see the small red flags I folded neatly and placed away like unused scarves, harmless, because I didn't want them to be harmful. A comment here, a look there, a door closed too quickly, a conversation that ended when I entered the room. But at the time, I told myself what all mothers tell themselves before they are forced to know the truth. My child could never do that to me. I would have died defending that sentence. And then, the very boy I nursed, the boy I gave my back to stand on, handed my future to someone else like it was a coupon. The very first clue didn't feel like a clue at all, not when it happened. It was 2 weeks before that day in the kitchen. I had gone to the drawer in my nightstand. The one where I keep my card, not to use it, just to check it. I don't know why I do that. Maybe because poor people who live most of their life without safety never fully trust safety when they finally have it. When I opened the drawer, the wallet wasn't inside the little cloth pouch where I always place it. It was just loose, sitting slightly askew, like someone had taken it out and put it back in a hurry. I remember staring at it longer than necessary, letting my mind walk circles. Did I leave it like that? Did I open this drawer recently? Did my hands do this? I tried to summon a memory that didn't exist, because the alternative was unthinkable. I zipped it shut again, placed it back exactly how I always do, and closed the drawer with that soft wooden click. Then I dismissed the feeling like we dismiss a chill and pull our shawl tighter instead of asking where the cold is coming from. That night at dinner, Myra kept checking her phone under the table, smiling at messages she didn't want us to see. My son asked her twice, jokingly, "Who are you texting so much?" And she brushed it off with a light laugh. "Just some bank stuff, don't worry." Bank? The word landed in me like a needle, tiny but sharp. I watched her fingers. I watched the way she flipped the phone face down, every time my son reached for the salt or his water glass. I watched the way their voices lowered when they stepped into the hall that evening. But I told myself what good mothers tell themselves to avoid bleeding. They are adults. Don't create problems where none exist. The second clue came quieter. I was folding laundry in the living room, the warmth of fresh cotton against my hands, the faint scent of fabric softener still clinging. Myra walked in talking on the phone, not noticing I was there behind the armchair. Her voice was hushed, but excited, like someone talking about a surprise party. "No, she won't even notice. I told you she never checks anything. Yes, this week, probably Friday." Friday. Something planned. Something involving me, or my money, and my blindness. She ended the call with a whispery laugh and walked out. I sat frozen, a towel clenched in my fist like a rope. Was she talking about me, or some other woman, some other she? People talk about many she-s in a lifetime. I convinced myself again, not because it sounded true, but because the truth, if true, would have been too big to hold. The third clue I could not wave away. It was a Wednesday morning, tea still warm on the table, my son about to leave for work. He hugged me quickly, the way people hug when their body is there but their mind is elsewhere. He said, "Mom, if at any time you need anything from the bank, just let Myra handle it. It's easier." He smiled when he said it. That soft, coaxing smile people use when they are trying to lead you somewhere without your resistance. I looked at him closely, really looked. For the first time, I saw a flicker of guilt in his eyes, that quick downward dart, the swallow in his throat before he picked up his keys. A mother knows when her child is lying, not because of what he says, but because of what his face tries not to show. When the door closed behind him, the house felt different, not unsafe, just unknown. Like the walls had been watching something I hadn't. That day I sat in my room with the drawer open, the card in my hand, my thumb tracing over the raised silver numbers. I thought about how many years of my life those digits represented, years of skipping vacations, mending clothes instead of buying new ones, saving the last piece of meat for my husband instead of myself. And the people I lived with, the people I fed and warmed and prayed for, were speaking in whispers about something involving that card, without me. That was the moment suspicion stopped being a passing shadow. It grew bones. The discovery didn't come with screaming or breaking glass. It came quietly, like truth often does, through numbers on a screen. 2 days after those whispers and half-sentences had gathered in my chest like stones, I waited until Myra left the house for her salon appointment. My son was at work. The house was still, the kind of stillness that makes every small sound feel like a confession. I took the card from the drawer. My hands didn't tremble, not yet. I sat at my little desk by the window, opened my laptop, and logged into my bank. The page loaded slow, not because of the internet, but because time slows right before something breaks. There it was. A transfer, $18,000, $2 days earlier, and another $7,500 the week before, and one for $4,000 a month ago, all to the same account. Not mine, not my son's, hers, under her name, Myra A. bold letters, digital theft written in plain daylight. I stared so long I forgot to breathe. The room tilted not physically, but morally. The air felt different, as if the truth had changed the oxygen itself. My first instinct was not anger. It was disbelief, the kind that tastes metallic in your mouth. They wouldn't, my son wouldn't. He can't know, he must not know. Because if he knew, truly knew, then the story of who I believed he was would have to die. I scrolled. Another transfer pending, $30,000, scheduled for Friday. Friday, the same day Myra had whispered about on the phone. She was planning to drain me. Not a slip, not a one-time lapse. A plan, an organized removal of the life I saved for old age. That was the moment the betrayal stopped being suspicion and became law. My eyes filled, but the tears didn't fall. They just sat there, burning, as if leaving my body would make the truth too permanent. I printed the statements, each page sliding out of the printer with that low mechanical exhale. Evidence, proof, ink-stamped violation. When my son came home that evening, I watched him, really watched him. He set his keys down, loosened his tie, rubbed his eyes like a man carrying burdens, but none of them were me. None of them were guilt heavy enough to stop him. I held the printouts in a folder on my lap, but I did not speak. Not yet. Because there is a kind of betrayal so large that before you confront it, you need to sit with it, to understand its shape, to see who you are on the other side of knowing. At dinner, he ate with appetite. He laughed at something Myra showed him on her phone. They shared glances, little private exchanges I had never questioned before. Now I saw them differently, not as two people in love, but as two people unified in a secret. After dinner, Myra leaned back in her chair, swirling iced water in her glass. And with a voice thick with false sweetness, she said, "Mom, I was thinking, maybe next month you could let me handle more of your payments. It will make things easier for you." Easier. That word nearly made me drop the fork in my hand. But I smiled, gently, like someone watching a stage performance and already knowing the ending. "Of course," I said softly. "We will talk about it soon." Inside, I felt something shift, not rage, not grief, something colder, steadier. The kind of clarity a mother gets when she stops protecting and starts seeing. That night, when the house went dark and their bedroom door closed, I sat awake in my small, yellow-lit room, the folder of statements on my lap like an obituary of trust. And for the first time in my life, I looked at my son not as my child, but as a man capable of taking what was not his. I did not confront them immediately. A confrontation without strategy is just noise, and I was past the stage of noise. The next morning, I woke earlier than usual. Before the kettle, before the creak of floorboards, before the house remembered it had inhabitants. I sat at the small desk again, the bank screen open, and canceled the pending $30,000 transfer with one click. Then I changed every online access setting attached to that account, including the email recovery, including the mobile number. Not with shaking hands, with steady ones. After that, I drove to the bank myself. I had not driven in months, but rage gives old bones firmness. I sat across from a young banker with a polite smile and told him, in a calm, even voice, "I want every dollar in this account moved to a new account in my name only. And I want the old card deactivated permanently." He asked if I wanted to order a new card. I said no. Money that is protected does not need to travel in a wallet. When he asked if there had been fraud, I looked him in the eye, not angry, not crying, and said, "Not fraud, permission that was mistaken for permission." He didn't ask more. He just did his job. By noon, the money was untouchable. Not legally tied to my son, not accessible to Myra. That was step one. When I returned home, they were both at the dining table, Myra with her laptop, my son with toast in his hand. They looked up when I entered, and for the first time I saw it clearly. They were not afraid of me because they thought I was naive. That illusion served me now. I placed a small plate of cut fruit between them, as I always did. The gesture made Myra smile, a soft, satisfied smile, the smile of someone who believes victory is already in her pocket. Let her smile, I thought. Let her be comfortable. Comfort is when people make mistakes. I waited. Because when someone intends to steal again and cannot, they expose themselves faster than any confrontation ever could. The first crack came that evening. I was knitting in the living room when I heard Myra in the hallway, packing, whispering aggressively into her phone. No, it didn't go through. I don't know why. It was supposed to transfer today. No, he doesn't know. She doesn't know. Just wait, I'll try again tonight. Her voice dropped at the last line, but not low enough. My son came home 15 minutes later. He greeted me normally, but something in his eyes was tighter, distracted. He and Myra went to their room and spoke in low, urgent tones, that muffled urgency of two people whose plan has hit a wall. I heard my name once, then silence. I didn't move from my chair. I let them panic. Later that night, around 11 p.m., when the house was dim except for the hallway light, I opened my bedroom door just enough to hear Myra in the kitchen. The fridge door opened, then closed. Then her footsteps, soft but quick, down the hallway toward my room. She stopped outside my door, paused, then kept walking, back to her room. They were waiting for me to sleep. Good. I did not sleep. I sat awake, waiting for step 2 to reveal itself, not from me but from them. Because once a thief is denied access to what they believe they own, they do not stop. They escalate. I just needed to let them try. And they did. By the next afternoon, I would have undeniable spoken proof. Not numbers on a screen, not suspicions, not inference, but words, out loud, leaving their own mouths. And once a truth is spoken, it cannot be unsaid. It happened the very next day, earlier than I expected. Myra must have tried the card again in the morning, because by noon she stormed into the kitchen with that tight, brittle smile people wear when their anger has not yet found a target. She turned to my son and hissed, not softly, not privately. "It's blocked. The card is blocked. She did something." I was at the stove making tea. I didn't turn around. My son lowered his voice, but not enough. "Calm down. We'll talk to her, just wait. Don't make this a scene." A scene. That word landed like a bell. Not "don't steal." Not "we were wrong." Not "we need to stop." Just "don't make this public." That told me everything about where their fear actually lived. Around 5 p.m., my sister-in-law, my niece, and 2 neighbors came over unplanned, bringing food for an early birthday gathering. The house filled with that innocent, unknowing chatter of women greeting each other with hugs and plates wrapped in foil. Myra changed her tone immediately, all honey again, soft and careful, serving tea, laughing too brightly, overcompensating. My son stayed quiet, withdrawn, waiting for the house to empty so he could corner me privately. He would not get that chance, because truth, when hidden too long, has a way of choosing its own stage. It began when my niece, while helping in the kitchen, casually asked, "Auntie, are you excited for your trip next month? My mom said you were planning something." Myra turned sharply at the word trip. Her eyes cut to me, sharp, suspicious, afraid. I set the teacup down gently and said, with a steady, even voice that felt like marble, "No, Beta. I canceled any plans that required money. My accounts needed to be protected first." The room stilled. Even the spoon seemed to stop clinking against china. My son stiffened. Myra's face drained of color. My sister-in-law blinked slowly, confused. "Protected from what?" she asked. Silence. I didn't raise my voice. Dignity is louder than shouting. I walked to my room, returned with the folder, the bank printouts, and placed them on the dining table in front of everyone. One by one, their eyes fell to the pages, the transfers, the names, the dates. Nobody spoke for a full 10 seconds. Then my sister-in-law gasped, "Myra, this is your account." Myra opened her mouth, then closed it. Her throat moved like she swallowed a stone. My son spoke first, faster than his thoughts. "Mom is misunderstanding." I raised a single hand, just slightly, and he stopped talking. "A misunderstanding," I said quietly, "is once. This is a pattern, and it was done behind my back while I lived under this roof and cooked for the very hands that were taking from me." The shame in the room was physical, a heat, a heaviness. My niece whispered, almost involuntarily, "How could you?" Myra finally found her voice, a thin, cracking one. "We were going to pay it back. You don't need that much at your age. We were planning for the future, for the family." The word, family, made something inside me go still. "Family," I repeated, eyes locked on her. Then why was it a secret? No one answered. My son tried again, softer, pleading now. "Mom, please, not in front of everyone." Exactly in front of everyone, I said. Because betrayal done in the dark deserves its consequences in the light. He closed his eyes like the sentence hit him physically. Myra began to cry, not grief, not apology, panic. Because money lost privately is one thing. Character exposed publicly is another. No one at that table defended them. Not one person. Not even each other. Myra stood abruptly and walked out of the room, tears streaking her foundation. My son stayed frozen, humiliated, breathing hard like someone drowning in air. I did not comfort him. Consequences are not cruelty, they are clarity. That was not the end of the consequences. It was only the beginning. The next consequence would not come from my mouth. It would come from the life I chose after this night. And that life would not include them. I did not sleep that night. Not because I was hurt. That part of me had already burned to ash. But because something new had taken its place. A calm, deliberate certainty. By sunrise, I had made 3 decisions. Decision 1. I would not live under the same roof with people who used my trust as their income. Decision 2. I would not confront again, not argue, not explain, not repeat what had already been exposed. Decision 3. I would leave with dignity, not disaster. Before either of them woke, I packed only what belonged to me. My clothes, my documents, my framed picture of my husband, and the knitted blanket whose stitches held years of my evenings. I left the furniture, the kitchenware, the curtains I sewed myself, all of it. I was not leaving with loss. I was leaving with peace. The last thing I placed in my bag was the now empty wallet, not as a reminder of what they took, but of what they no longer would. At 7:40 a.m., my sister-in-law arrived to pick me up, just as we had arranged on the phone at dawn. She loaded my bags into her car without questions, just a quiet, fierce support only women who have buried illusions understand. When we stepped back inside for the last time, my son appeared at the hallway entry, hair uncombed, eyes swollen with the kind of fear that arrives only after consequences become final. "Mom, where are you going?" His voice was small, the voice of the boy I raised, not the man who let me be stolen from. I did not attack him. I did not soften. I answered like someone speaking a completed chapter. To live in a home where my presence is not used as a cover for theft. Myra appeared behind him, mascara smudged, mouth parted in disbelief. "You're overreacting," she whispered. That sentence alone confirmed I was not. I lifted my bag from the couch. My son stepped forward, panicked now. "Mom, wait, we can fix this." I turned to him, slowly, fully, so he would remember my face in this moment for the rest of his life. The fixing needed to happen before you let it happen. A child who watches someone rob his mother and stays silent is not protecting his family. He is breaking it. His lips trembled. He had no defense. I walked past him. He reached out, lightly, touching my arm the way someone touches glass before it shatters. "Please, don't leave like this." I looked at his hand, then at him. "No one leaves like this in one day. You pushed me out slowly. Each time you chose comfort over conscience." I stepped away. He didn't follow, because guilt freezes harder than grief. I moved into my sister-in-law's guest room for the time being. The first night, the quiet was different, not heavy, not watchful, not tense, just quiet. I cooked dinner for them as a thank you, nothing special, just lentils and warm roti. But when I set the plate down, my sister-in-law touched my hand and said, "You still give warmth even when people take from you." I didn't cry. I thought I would, but I didn't. Because this time, I had not been stripped. I had rescued what was left of me. Days passed. Word traveled, as truth always does among families. Not because I told it, but because the silence my son and Myra gave in response to questions told more than my voice ever would. Respect is a currency too, and they lost far more of it than $130,000 could buy back. My son called 5 times. I answered none. There are distances a mother must hold not to punish, but to prevent future wounds. On the 6th day, he sent a message. "If you ever forgive me, I will earn it, not ask for it." That was the first honest sentence he had given me in months. I did not reply, but I saved the message. Because remorse is not reconciliation, but it is the soil from which redemption sometimes grows. Meanwhile, I began looking for a small rental, a space of my own again. Modest, quiet, paid with money that no one else would ever touch. I would make tea in a kitchen that did not echo with secrecy. I would age without needing permission to protect what I built. Healing, I learned, is not the return of what was taken. It is the refusal to let the taking define what remains. And what remained in me was not loss, but clarity. People imagine that betrayal ends with shouting, or doors slamming, or someone being thrown out. But sometimes the real ending is much quieter than that. A woman closing her own door behind her and never returning to the house where she was taken for granted. I did not get my trust back. I did not get my son back, not the son I once believed I had, but I got myself back. And that, at my age, is not a small recovery. Sometimes the people you feed are the same people who will eat your future if you let them. And sometimes the lesson is not how to forgive them, but how to stop giving them access to what they misuse. I do not know yet whether my son will become worthy of a second chance. Time will answer that, not sentiment. But I do know this. Peace feels different when you have paid for it with the price of walking away. And if anyone listening to my story is holding on to a home, a relationship, or a child in the name of family, while losing yourself in the process, then hear me gently. Family without respect is just a shared roof, and roofs can be left. Would you have left the way I did? Or would you have stayed and confronted them longer? Tell me in the comments. I want to hear your heart, not your pride. If stories like mine speak to you, subscribe, support, and stay with me here. These stories are our shelter now.